What's up, guys? Avid Outdoorsman podcast, episode 2. Today we got Ohio native, Coyote Slayer, founder of Coyote Academy, Colton Morris, who's also featured on the front cover of Buckeye Trapper magazine this year as well. Just to inform everybody that hasn't been on here before, our group is put out to keep the community informed on the trapping, hunting, and fishing across the United States and keeping the culture alive. Yep. We just try to get a lot of younger kids involved. The guys that do it like us aren't going to live forever. So we're going to go ahead and bring Colton on here and have him tell you a little bit about himself. Colton, buddy, how are you?
Hey, doing well. How are you guys?
Another day, another dollar.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about yourself, man. Where are you from?
So I'm from Ross County. I grew up in a small little village in Ross County. Bainbridge, Ohio is where I grew up. It's probably about, I think the last census might have been around 400 people.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was about 12 years old when I first got into trapping. My neighbor, he's got kind of mentored me throughout the years and lived right down the road from me. Came up to my folks' place, wanted to trap on my family's little farm. And my dad told him, yeah. And he said, "You want to go with me?" And I said, "Dad, he ain't going to eat me, is he?" And if you knew the guy, you'd know why. But he's a character. But I went with him. We did some muskrat mink trapping, raccoon trapping, did a little bit of predator trapping, and I was hooked after that. Was up at his house every chance I could get, and trying to get as much information and going to trapping meets, and then school happened and family happened. It slowed some things down, but I still trap, just not as hard as I could.
Yeah, so tell us a little about that. What's your 9 to 5?
So I'm a PA in orthopedic surgery, and so I do surgery with the surgeon. And I don't really have a set schedule. It's you show up when before the first case starts, and you don't leave until the last case is finished. So sometimes I could show up and it could be I usually always get there around 6:30. First case usually starts at 7, and sometimes I could be done at 1. Sometimes I'll be done at 7 at night. I've been there till 10 p.m. at night. So
skinning animals and skinning humans, huh?
Yeah.
I read your article there in the Buckeye Trapper, and it was cool, man. I seen where you'd be pulling into work with them in the truck. It's just part.
Yeah.
I mean, you was trapping and still had to go to work, and I feel it. Yeah, I feel that too.
It can be pretty rough.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
I was gonna say it can be pretty rough running a line before work. Especially when you got to be at work around 6:30. So waking up at 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you just try and run the small line, something you can operate out of the truck or something you can kind of check pretty quick. And
that's what it came down to around here. A lot of these older guys down here by us that still trap, most of them just run their gentleman's line, they're 20, 30 traps and go to work. And me and him, we run a good bit of traps, but we run a mixed bag line, so we kind of hit everything in between. But we'll be at work at 7, leave at 5:30, run the other half of our line, get home, skin, go to work the next morning. I mean, we freeze some, but we try to get as much as we can done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I run a freezer. I skin everything, and then I work it up later in the year.
Yeah.
So I usually miss the first two big auctions in Ohio, and I usually make the kid run. So
what pushed you to hit that 100 coyote mark last year?
Just guys talking about it, saying they didn't think it could be done in Ohio, and I know there's probably plenty of guys that have taken 100 coyotes in a year, but I haven't really ever heard of too many guys doing it. In the time frame that I did it in. Maybe there are. I'm not saying. I'm not saying I'm the shit. I'm just saying I don't know of any, which I would love to. I know several guys that trap around me. That have done, 60, 70. There's a guy named Danny Souls. He's up in his 70s, I think. But, he's done 100 fox back in when the fur boom was going on and the fox were rampant. But, I mean, he traps the next county. So I'll be going to get permission.
We talked to a line guy out here. He said he caught like 130 red fox one year, and that's what paid for his college.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be trying to get permissions. I kind of try and go all over every little adjacent county or, contiguous county. I try and go, and a lot of times they'll be like, well, we already got Danny Souls trapping on here. I'm saying he's like 76 years old.
We got one of those here too.
Randy Schwarm. I'll put his name out there all the time. Yeah. Randy Schwarm. He I literally have this property. Randy, me, Randy, the whole way. 60 miles of a line I run, and he's right beside me everywhere.
Yeah, good old Randy Schwarm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met him. I gotta. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, he does very well. But he's long in the tooth with that being knowledge and experience and probably financial.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what pushed you to focus on predator trapping? Because obviously with the 100 coyotes, I don't know if you might run a mixed bag, but obviously your focus there is on predators. What pushed you to focus on that?
I don't know, something I kind of gravitated towards. I talked to a couple guys. I had some guys kind of giving me information and pushing me towards that direction, and I started getting all these DVDs and VHS tapes and like Matt Jones, then there was Bob Wentz videos, JC Connors videos. Yeah. I've watched, if you've trapped canine, I've probably watched your material. and I just thought, man, these guys are doing it, and it seems that everyone thinks it's so hard. It's not hard to catch coyote. It's just the hard part's the work, the preseason work, exactly. The driving to get them, getting all your permissions. It's not like we live out in the West where one landowner owns 50,000 acres.
Exactly.
We've got 50,000 landowners that own 40
acres, if that.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll just.
I'm sorry. What was you saying?
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, you're good.
So with you trapping coyotes and running adjacent counties and stuff, it comes down to it's the same. You're running what, 130 traps?
Yeah, that's probably the most I ran this year. It fluctuated anywhere from 80 to that was when I was on my vacation line. Now, when I was on my work line, I was running maybe 20 or 30 traps.
Okay, so what?
I'm just going in. What set?
Yeah, you're running you're trying to punch in a bunch of sets. Like what?
Yeah.
Something
So
fast.
I would really just do a trench style dirt hole set. It's a slope down. It's super easy, quick. I mean, I've got a system down where I can put them in like 2 minutes. So, and then this year I'm going to go out and pre-stake all my stakes, and I'm going to try and at least get 75 to 100 traps out the first day. It's my goal.
Nice.
I don't know if
you're going to shoot for that 100 mark again?
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to try and do it. I want to try to do it in like 3 weeks, though. So
nice.
I don't have the vacation like I had last year, and I transitioned to a different hospital this spring. So my vacation time is not built up right now. So I have about maybe 2.5 weeks of vacation time that I can take.
So how many miles do you cover to reach a 100 coyote mark? How many miles did you run last year?
So I did a 15-mile radius this year from my house. So, you know, that being a diameter would be 30 miles. But nice. that's not all. That's not as small as you think it is, because, you know, I'm zigzagging in this big. I'm going in a big loop around the property, or around, I guess I should say, my trap line. So I was running anywhere from 100 to 105 miles on my truck, and then probably 15 to 20 miles on my ATV.
Nice.
So,
100 coyotes. Now, you said something about having a work line, or your vacation line last year, and then your work line. So, I'm taking it you hit those 100 coyotes during your vacation. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So my vacation, I set it up. I had a bunch of time to use. They'd either pay me out at the end of the year when I left, or I could use it. And I just said, well, I'd rather have the time to go trap than you're still going to pay me to be off work, you know.
Yeah. Don't tell me twice.
So I took the 2 weeks at the beginning of the season, and I set out a big line. I mean, I was running 55 properties, just trying to cover as much ground as I could. And then I think I was up to like 55 canine. So majority of that being coyotes, but then I had, I think, 10 or 11 fox, and I had a couple bobcats, and probably like 35 coon. And then I took a break. I kind of decompressed and got all my stuff worked up, reloaded all my bait and equipment and everything, got my truck, and just kind of took a step back and was like, whew, all right, you got to do this all over again in about a month and a half. So I took a few weeks off, and I started running a truck line during December, and I ended up catching coyotes then, and then a couple fox and a couple bobcats, and a handful of coon. And then January comes, and I trap a lot of deer leases, like 30 deer leases, and they're pretty much all managed by one manager. So I've kind of got set up where I'm just on all these different deer leases, but I can't trap them until after muzzleloader season. So I have to wait. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but at the same time, it's like, well, you know, that gives me some properties run later on. I don't have to incorporate everything in the beginning.
Exactly.
So what I did was I left all my stakes in the ground on my old properties that I ran. And then I kind of went back in January, and I picked the cream, like the primo spots on my old line, my first vacation line. Right. And I went out, I set those 20, 30 deer leases, and then I reset a bunch of old spots that I thought would be easy accessible, and that would hopefully have some transients come through that I could just kind of pick up quick. And I ended up I caught, you know, I had like four or five real bad mange. Those are some of the ones I snared. I ended up finding a dead cow and someone's property, and it wasn't like a dead pile, but it had just died, and I think it was eating buckeyes because there was a buckeye tree there, but
that makes sense.
But it had been there for a while, and so I set some snares up kind of out on the perimeter of it, and I snared a bunch of mangy coyotes. I wouldn't say a bunch, but 5, pretty quick.
Yeah, to get them out of there, though. I mean,
yeah, I was like, man, what's going on? And then I really didn't have any other luck with that. It kind of went stale on me. So I don't know if I kind of took what was there. Maybe they also had it was just a bad batch of coyotes, but half a mile down the way on the other side of the property, I was catching good looking coyotes. So
that's crazy how close they can be and how different they can be and how different they can run too.
Right. Yeah. I thought the same. So all in all, I was, I caught over 100 coyotes. It was like 107, but I only say I caught 102 because I don't count those mangy ones.
Yeah.
And then I caught right at 30 fox, 14 bobcats, 70 plus coon, and a shit ton of possums.
The old Ohio silver fox, huh?
Yeah.
Doing all that winter trapping, how do you manage the snow? How does that change your game plan?
Because I know we got hit pretty good last year, and it was rough.
And it stayed. I mean, it was so cold that snow was on the ground for 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, so I just kind of planned out when I knew the snow was going to hit, and I tried to make landmarks where I could still find my sets, because that's the pain in the ass. You get 8 inches of snow and you get a drift blow through and you can't find anything.
Nope.
So I try to just make some landmarks kind of near my sets. That way I can find them. And I guess my rule of thumb is if there's 2 to 2.5 inches or less of snow on my trap bed, I'll leave it. But if there's more than, say, 3 and you're getting up into 4 or 5, I'll brush it off, clean off the set. I always try and like to find my hole and make sure the hole's good. If it's just good fluffy snow, that's fine. Now, if you're getting to like the freeze thaw slush,
that's what we got into last year pretty bad.
Yeah, I'll clear all that off, and then I had probably 180 gallons of dry wax dirt, so I run a lot of dirt, a lot of peat moss.
Yeah,
a lot of table salt and calcium chloride and grass clippings.
Yeah, it adds up fast though.
Yeah.
I took like a big shop broom, and I'll keep it with me when we get heavy snow like that. And I almost make it look like a coyote's already been in the trap. Make a real big circle, and then I'll scatter my calcium chloride all over the ground there and keep all that snow and ice down, and it helps. We didn't run a lot of K9 sets last year. We probably had, I think 8 out most of the year. So it's a little easier. I did just buy a guy out of some traps over in Pataskala not too long ago, and I'm gonna be running a good bit of kite sets this year. I think we'll be running close to 80.
Yeah, that'd be a good line, man. Yeah. You guys will have a ball. I think.
Because we got about 80 sets for K9s this year, and then a
couple hundred coon sets.
We're big water trappers too, so beaver, muskrat,
mink. I just got I don't know, we probably got 20 dozen snares ready to go, so it's gonna be
you guys
extraordinary.
So obviously your goal for coyotes is 100. You obviously want to hit that 100 mark again this year. Do you have any numbers you're shooting for anything else, coon, or you do any water trapping at all?
The market's it's just so wishy-washy. There are niche markets out there, tan and fur, skull market, the penile bones. So I'm just going to stick with coyotes. I would like to maybe hit 100 coon and 100 coyotes. That would be kind of cool. I don't think it'd be that hard to do. I'm literally right by a large creek system. It's like, don't quote me on this, but it's like 20 foot short of being a river. Nice. So it's a large creek system, and it's 6 miles from my house.
Like Paint Creek?
Yeah, Paint Creek.
Okay.
Yep. Paint Creek.
You so when you was a kid and you did a lot of mink trapping and stuff like a little bit more water trapping, I guess.
Yeah.
Has that it's something like that keeps you going. Like I always remember that first muskrat I caught, that first mink, that first coon, and have you ever had the chance to take somebody else out? Somebody's kids or your kids and such. I mean,
so I have taken out quite a few people. Take out a couple buddies. There'll be guys that'll message me from time to time, and if I know them or something, I'll take them out. But I try not to plan too much with that because I'm running such a long line, and I'm kind of particular, and I don't like to wait around for people. So if I'm leaving at 4:30 in the morning and you're not here at 4:25, I'm probably leaving.
Yep.
But I have taken out a few kids. Couple high schoolers, got them in, took out this high schooler, showed him a few things, and he calls me one day and he's like, "Hey man, I caught a bobcat."
Said, oh man.
I said, "That's cool." I was like, "You gonna be able to get it out?" He's like, "No." I said, "Man, I'm running my trap line right now." And I was like, where are you at? And luckily he was on a property that wasn't too far away from my route. And I get up there and I said, "Hey man," I said, "You got 2 bobcats." I said, "You got one down here and you got one sitting up on that hill right there." And I mean, it was like 20 feet apart. I was like, "You doubled up on cats." I've never had a cat double. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've had a possum and cat double.
Running together.
Yeah. And then my daughter, I think she'll eventually want to go, but, she'll probably end up being more of the cheerleading type. I hope she gets into some sports, but I don't know if she won't be against us. I know that.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, man.
I mean, I know you're a part of our Facebook group and I push it all the time. My daughter's 7. She cheerleads. She's done gymnastics and she goes with me. I keep all my possums, and that's her fleshing time there on the board. She gets to do that. But we were at the national convention here, and she went in, got herself a dozen number 1s and a pack basket and every mink and muskrat lure on the market. And
that'd be great.
She said she's going to catch her own this year. So I've already been calling taxidermists to get ready.
Yeah. That Charlie Tumpack, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
She makes a pretty good mink.
Yeah, she does.
I smelled that. I didn't buy it. My buddy bought it. He likes to support the youth and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he was going to buy it. So I kind of pitched in, said, if you want to spend whatever, spend it. But he came back and he let me smell it. I said, "Man, that actually smells pretty good. I mean, it smells like the real deal."
He's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Charlie is one of them younger trappers that is amazing.
She's going to be one that keeps this thing going. I mean,
yeah, she has a very good personality.
Mm-hmm.
Just from what I've seen, and she presents herself really well too.
Yeah.
So what type of traps you run for those dogs? You 550 guy or what?
No, I'm a Duke number 2 square jaw, modified to my liking with I got a rod style dog on it, pit pan. It's got laminations, outside laminations. Beefed up the chain, put just a number 2 chain on it instead of the factory chain. And then I also run the no BS juniors. So they're a heavy trap, man.
So you like those?
I do, but they are heavy. And I don't know, with the amount of moisture we get in our ground, I really want them to be 4-coiled because I want them. Sometimes I feel like that just a little bit of surface with like the dirt and whatnot over top of the jaws. Sometimes I feel like those 2 coils are going to maybe be a little slow coming up out of the bed. So I want them to be 4-coiled. I want them to be, and I know I'm not worried about, they lock up great as a 2-coil. I just want them to be fast as they can.
I want them to be able to snap.
That's what when I first started trapping canines, I was always pushed to go to a number 3 because of the speed and breaking through the ground around here. But I've been running a lot of the 550s, Duke and MB series. But I mean, I enjoy them. I like using them. They're quick or easy. And I know the fur market's nowhere near what it used to be, but I put my hands on some of them JC Connor traps, and they're Cadillacs, man. Them things,
but the jig trap, it's a well-built machine.
Now $40 a trap, it steers some people away, but them things are wicked.
But with that rubber jaw and how much width it has on the jaw, I worry about it coming up through the ground sometimes with with the certain conditions that we get and we face. So it's a phenomenal trap. I just say that's something you might want to be taking into consideration if you're looking into it. Because the faster they come up, you have a smaller percentage of them getting their foot out or being able to pull their foot up. You reckon?
Yeah, getting that deeper catch is always a great thing.
Yeah. Because I had 2 coyotes pop out right in front of me this year.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was driving my foiler up to them. I got a video of one, and I'm too big of a sissy to post it because I'm embarrassed.
You're gonna get made fun of now, huh?
I don't. I got big shoulders. I don't care about that. It's just like, man, I can't believe that happened. And then it wasn't. That was on my first vacation line. That happened. I'm filming with my phone. I'm on my foiler driving. And there he goes. I say, I say some choice words.
Go ahead and say it.
I try and pull out my pistol, and I throw a shot up at it, but I'm shooting shorts, and he's probably 40 yards from me.
Yeah.
So I didn't hear no thud or nothing, and
I saw that a coyote yesterday too.
Yeah, we was deer hunting yesterday and seen 2 of them, and the one was beautiful red. Red coyote. I heard him shoot. I could hear him shoot his bow, and I'm like, man, that was loud. And he texted me and was like, damn stick. And I'm like, oh. And I literally look up and here it came, and I couldn't get a shot on it. And then later on that day, another one come busting through, and I'm like, these coyotes are just running at 2:30 in the afternoon today, and I can't even get a shot.
But the weird thing is about them is, if you have a property with a lot of coyotes, you usually don't have a lot of turkeys. And I tell you what, yesterday morning, you would have thought we were on a turkey farm. I mean, they were everywhere out in those woods. I mean, I would say that patch we hunt's probably a good 100 acres. And I mean, within that 100 acres, I'm telling you, I mean, that's all you heard was gobbles and stuff all day long. I mean, we saw 4 of them?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's great.
But 2 coyotes in the middle of the day, that's.
Which I know they're pushing pups out right now, but they were pretty decent sized coyotes, so
that second one was that first one when it came through. I mean, it was nice red coyote. I initially thought it might have been a fox, and then it got closer. I realized it was a coyote, but that second one came through. I knew what it was. I mean, that was a nice mature coyote.
Heck yeah, dude. I like watching them. I pulled up. I'm going to probably carry a 22-250 with me this year in the truck because I've pulled up so many times, and I'm going down a 2-track on a farm lane, and I'm looking out in the crops, out in the middle of the crop field. And I'm like, there's a coyote out there, and I could bust it. If I had a 22-250, I'm like, I could bust this thing. So I don't know.
Well, you got to get out and put him in a 5x5 now.
Yeah, but I was going to tell you, both those times that I had pop outs were in MB 550s.
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah. And now it was probably just a coincidence because that's just what I was running.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I sold all of those traps.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I sold them all, and I just they were not. I'm trying to streamline my setup and everything in my system, and I like a square jaw trap. I don't mind a round jaw, but I just prefer a square jaw. I've been told that the round jaws will zip up through the ground quicker, but I don't know if that's 100% true. I'd like to see some data behind that.
Yeah, I have watched some guys obviously on YouTube that talk about it, and there's nothing. I mean, obviously nobody's posted anything proof wise, but and I get what they're saying. You know, just the slick round corners instead of the square jaw. But I mean,
if you're busting up through peat moss and dry dirt,
yeah, you shouldn't have much of a problem anyway.
Right.
You know, and a lot of them guys that post their real long line videos where they're using square jaws, a lot of them are down south anyway. So, I mean, you're not going to get these real frigid temperatures that we get or the snow and ice all the time. So that does make a big difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, how deep are you setting your trap? About a half inch into the ground, or?
You mean how much cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a quarter to a half inch, somewhere in there. I don't want a big bunch of cover over it, but I rough up my pattern pretty quick, so I'll make the set, put the trap in, peat moss, dry dirt, and then I take dirt clods and use those for guiding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't sift my dry dirt. I just kind of break it up with a shovel, let it dry out. I didn't wax dirt this year. I didn't do wax dirt this year. I just did bone dry dirt.
Nice.
Just because I didn't want to sit there and wax it, honestly.
Yeah. That's a process.
So, instead of sifting the dirt, my traps can bust through a dirt clod. Now, a rock is a different story. You might get hung up, so I just take those little dirt clods that are in my dirt after I pour it on there. I just take some dirt clods and kind of put them where I want them to be. And then I just I don't want like a cookie cutter set, or like, I don't want like there to be like some real big, I want it to be blended. I don't want no rough edges, I guess, or defined edges.
So are you a big person in anything with eye appeal? I mean,
I'm a big eye appeal guy. So, you can't use feathers at your set here in Ohio. I think that's the rule. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're correct on that.
Yeah.
But what I do is I go 5-6 feet away. If I'm on a 2-track, say I got a 2-lane going down a crop field, and I come up to a good spot where I know that they're going to be coming through, and maybe the wind's not going to be right, I'll take some turkey feathers that I've saved, or some, they've got Holly Hills right here where I'm at. People go bird hunting all the time. I always get feathers from there, and I'll just take them out and I'll throw them away from my set. So hopefully they see them, flapping in the grass or on some weeds, they might stop and mill around if they're not already doing that at that spot.
Right.
And then if I don't have the conditions to put in a trench set like I like to, I'll put in 2 flat sets, but then I'll go down maybe 2 feet, 3 feet from one of those sets, and I'll just make a kind of like a prairie dog town. Okay. So I'll just take my medic and I'll just dig up a big bunch of earth and scatter it out. Nice. I don't do it all the time, but I do it sometimes.
Now, we used to have a trapping supply store here where I live, and it's not around anymore, but the guy that owned it, that's honestly what he taught me for my very first coyote set was trench set. And we would take a stick, probably about that big around, and I don't know, 8 foot tall, and shove it in the ground in the back of that set. And we'd put our lure clear up on the very top of it. And it just, because you'd get on a hill and you'd come halfway down that hill and make your trench set, and then just put that stick up in the air, push your scent a little farther. And I like doing it. And for some reason, I had a lot of trip traps for a long time. And then I got real big into deer hunting, and I realized the deer, they were coming in to make a rub or a licking branch, and they'd set my trap off every time.
Guys will kind of hem and haw at me and say, why do you use salt? Why are you using this, or why are you using urine? You got, they're deer coming up and stomping my traps. Well, if I'm running 130 traps and say they stomp out 15 traps, I would rather be using salt as a antifreeze, or calcium chloride as an antifreeze. I'd rather have 15 traps that were decommissioned instead of the ground being froze up and all my traps being, because if I got 130 traps out and they take out a small percentage of them, I still have that other 100, 115 that are ready to hunt.
Yep.
So I understand maybe, you're running a half dozen sets. Well, just use what you're comfortable with using. But for me, I'm just trying to whack them and stack them and go down the road. Yeah. I don't ADC trap properties. When I say that, I don't go in and set every little corner or every little nook and cranny or every waterway. I go in and I scout with my dog, and we find the primo spots, or at least what I think are the primo spots. I wish he could talk to tell me that they were, but and then I just set those up and say maybe there's 2 or 3 on a property, or that's all the ones that we found. I'll set those up, and then I'm down the road. And if there's only one, I've got a 40-acre property that I trap on, and it's like a shotgun style property. It just goes straight back. It's not very wide, but it goes straight back 40 acres. And in between that are 2 big CRP grounds. And then there's like a ridge system that comes through, and there's a 2-track that goes all the way to it. I drive back there and I set a few traps, and I usually always catch 5-6 coyotes on that little ridge system. Right in between a couple of things of timber. I mean, the places are out there. You just got to find them, or you got to have something to help you find them.
Yeah, like I get on Onyx a lot, and even the properties I have permission for, I look at that little protruding part of the wood line, or I look at the 2-track on the property and see where it runs. And honestly, that's the first spot I go to when I get there to scout the property, because if I can see it from the air, I'm going to find them on the ground. And I search that spot, and I mean, most of the time that's where they're at. Sometimes you'll get them, somewhere else, but.
Oh yeah. And like big salient features, or like, I guess another word is like just something that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Gas wells.
Yeah. Or like big rock piles where they've broken up an old bridge or something back on the property and piled it up, or they've cleared out the tree line that was a windbreak, and they've piled up all these trees, and it's right by a 2-lane.
Yeah.
You might as well set some traps there.
Yeah.
Because something's going to come and investigate it.
Yeah.
If you're cold rolling and I see something like that, well, I'm automatically opening and putting a trap there. I probably don't even have to check. There's probably already tracks and sign there. So I'm just stopping them. I'll put in probably 3 sets. I don't ever just set one trap anymore either. I didn't know if I'd hit on that, but I usually always set 2 traps, and most of the time I'm setting 3 or 4 traps at a spot.
And I'm big on that. I try to tell everybody that.
That's what our guy Dale Billingsley, he came out of the video talking about that.
Yeah. Capitalizing on the insane moment.
Yeah.
When I mean, even if there's only one coyote coming through at a time and you catch that one, he says in his video how they're so family oriented that when that one's caught, even if it does a small yelp, them other ones are going to come to find out what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And they will stay in that area for, it could be 20, 30 minutes before they leave.
Oh, yeah.
And you're missing them other ones if you only have one trap there.
Yep. And, you know, if I'm on a good spot or like a good location, I'm probably setting my traps 7 feet apart, 10 feet apart at the farthest. I'm just going in and just trying to set as many as I can and the primo spots and just go down the road, man. It's, you know, I did see that video of Dale saying that insane moment. And I think O'Gorman coined that term and his Hoofbeats of a Woofer. If you ever get a chance, you should read that book. It's a phenomenal read. But, you know, there's so many good coyote guys, canine guys out there that I've talked to and had the pleasure of meeting, and just sitting there and listening to them. And, you know, me being a peon in their world, it's like, man, these guys got, and if you get a couple of them together,
yeah, then you really
heads start turning.
Shit.
yeah. Because then egos start getting into it,
mm-hmm.
and so they'll start letting out little tidbits of information that you might not have got. So
that's what I tell them guys. I go to them conventions so that I can sit around the fire at night and drink with the guys that really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I can find out all the information.
Yeah, I mean, and just because you have that information doesn't mean you're going to catch. You know, it's going to help you. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to work at it. It's
and just some of the stories them guys talk about, man.
I mean, yeah. There's a really good cookout that I usually go to in Indiana.
Yeah, I talked to JC Connor and a couple of guys that went with him when they were kids. They were down in Arizona and they were trapping. The fur market was big and they were young and they were staying in a tent trapping. And these older guys came up with guns and were like, that fur's ours. And, you know, I mean, you're a kid. You're like, yeah, it is, you know, like, here you go. And it's like, them kids were doing more work than what them guys were willing to do. And it got taken from them at the end. But to this day, you know, like him and the guys that went with them, they made a mark down there, you know, and they've been going down there for years.
Yeah, they probably get treated pretty well down there by some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is most of your land set up? Do you trap mostly crop fields and stuff like that then, putting up that many number of coyotes?
Yeah, so it's this past year, I think I told you guys before, I was in 3 counties. And most of it is crop field, ag bottoms by Paint Creek. There is some pasture ground, some CRP ground that butts up to a lot of, say, bean field or corn fields. And I don't trap. I didn't have the chance really at the time to trap any other kind of locations. So, but this year I'm going to be in 7 counties now this year. So, yeah, I've really expanded the trap line to go to an all truck line. And I'll probably be driving around 200 miles a day.
Ooh.
But I'm on a lot of livestock operations this year.
Okay.
A lot of large livestock operations. So
I got a couple big sheep farms that I picked up this year, a chicken farm, and then obviously I got a good bit of crop fields this year to do. Some of it, a lot of our crop fields here are just small, and they're patchy because we have a lot of hills, and sometimes that becomes a problem when it comes to canine trapping, just the way things are set up. But if I find a pond back in them areas like that or tucked back in a little ravine, I always head for the pond dam. It's almost always the cleanest spot on the pond, and them coyotes will travel. Food and water is always there. So that's the thing that I hit up doing a lot of canine trapping around here.
Yeah. I guess I should say there were probably maybe 3 to 5 places that I trapped on that had livestock by it, or on it, I should say. There are several properties I trapped on that I couldn't get permission, or they're just such a small little secluded area, and it wasn't a very big livestock operation. So I'd trap on the adjacent property or the property that butt up against it. But
my key thing is access. If it's terrible access, I don't even worry about stopping.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it is for me. And then, I just put on a new camper top for my truck, and I put on some like all-terrain winter tires. So I'm hoping I don't get stuck. Tacomas are pretty light trucks.
Yeah.
Anyways, so, fingers crossed I don't get stuck, but.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your videos this year. How I'd sit in a work truck all day and sit there and watch your videos.
I just, I'm not really concerned with the medium or if you want to say the platform, whether it being YouTube or Facebook. I just want to get the message out to
that's how we are.
I'm just, trying to be like trapper centric, focused on getting out information to trappers. And then, if you start filtering in some non-trappers or maybe even some deer hunters, some duck hunters, and you kind of get them educated and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not out here. I don't catch a lot of domestic dogs. I'm not going to say I've never caught them, but I always let them go. I even let strays go. I don't,
Yeah.
And I'm not out here trying to snare deer and take your big buck or,
yeah.
You don't know how many times on these deer leases, I had to tell them like, dude, I'm not like my sense, my bait, lure or urine or whatever I'm using is not scaring your buck away. If anything, you should probably put your stand by my set because there's going to be deer that will probably come in and check out what's going on because they're just as curious as anything else.
And I watched a video the other day. I forget who posted it, but a guy made a deer scrape and a coyote would come in and pee on that deer scrape. And then the deer would be right in afterwards and pee on that same spot. And I try to show that video to people too, because I do get turned down a lot because, I have hunters here. Well, I don't need to go in the woods. You know what I mean? I'm not heading there. So I've tried to inform others about, what we do and the situation that I'm in compared to them. Like I won't even be anywhere close to that guy. And I've seen some monster bucks in the morning running my line. They don't even care I'm there. They'll sit there and watch me put a set in the morning.
It's sickening, dude. We pulled up to this pond last year, and I swear we had 370 plus deer sitting right there. 3 of them just sitting there staring at us.
Just a whole fleet of them.
Yep. And it's like, I sat in the woods for 8 hours last week and didn't see nothing.
A damn thing. Right. What the hell?
See
coyotes when I sit in the woods, and then I go to catch coyotes and see bucks.
Right.
So, one thing I do want to hit on is what is some advice that you would give to a new trapper or somebody that doesn't even trap at all that is just interested in the subject?
Well, I guess my advice would be to talk to someone who knows kind of what they're doing, or maybe try and find a mentor, someone who can push you in the right direction. We got YouTube channels. There are some terrible YouTube channels out there. I'm not saying the guys are terrible people. I'm just saying the content is not the best. It's hard to put up good content, but
in our shoes, yeah.
But I would say like find a mentor, learn if you're wanting to be a water trapper, if you want to be a mixed bag trapper or canine trapper, figure out what you need to succeed in that, and then figure out a couple sets. Don't go out and make 20 different sets. Just figure out 2 sets, a flat set and a dirt hole, or a variation of one of those. Go practice it a bunch, in your yard or whatever. Just make it over and over, and then get some properties and use good baits and good lures if you want to use lures. Or I just use bait and urine. Just bait in the hole.
You have a certain type of bait that you like to use? Do you switch it up between times of the year?
I always try out new baits. And then, but my go-to, if I was going to recommend, it would be Marty Smith from Keg Creek Bait and Lures. He's got a Bill Nelson formula bait that's phenomenal. And then he's got this bait called Kick Ass Predator Bait. I believe it's a horse meat base. It does great for me. I've used a Showtime bait. I think it's a chicken base, but don't quote me on that because I don't know. But that's just what I think it is. And it's done well for me. He actually sent me a test bait to
Blackout.
Yeah. So it's called Blackout. I don't know exactly what's in it, but it smells pretty good.
I'm curious to see how it works for you. I do kind of keep up on everybody's stuff, and I order a little bit of everybody's every year.
Right.
And I run a little bit of everything. I don't try to be the best, so I can afford the screw ups all year, and I have the room to do a lot of trial and error.
Yep.
So that's what I'm working with. And then obviously here soon, when we get them shirts in, I'm going to send that bait with that shirt out to you.
That'd be cool.
And you can give it a try.
Do you ever mess around making your own baits or anything? You ever done that?
Yeah, I have. I have. I mean, I've made some baits. I've had some muskrat and tried a muskrat base. I've done a deer base. I've done a beaver base, and then just taking some castor, trying to get like good mink glands or good rat glands, and then maybe putting some honey in it or some decent, or I wouldn't say decent, some good quality urine. Don't buy that. I wouldn't buy urine from some of the manufacturers. I wouldn't recommend it. I would see if you could source it out through a private individual.
Yeah.
That's what I try and do. It works pretty well for me. And then I don't use lures, but I have in the past. I just don't use them now just because all the commercial baits I feel like they have mink glands in them. They have the Nelson formula.
They got all those lures in them now.
Yeah. So,
and it's funny because I've talked to guys who are only lure guys.
Right. Yeah, no, and
it's crazy. It's crazy how everybody works a little different.
Yeah. There's 6 in one, half dozen the other. It's not. It's just coyote trapping or canine trapping, or if you're coon trapping, it's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. People try to get so complex with things nowadays. And I mean, I've seen some, kind of going back to the content thing. I've seen some guys on YouTube come out with these sets, and I'm like, that would take me 30 minutes to put in. Like, I run 400 traps a year. There's no way in hell that I can make this set.
A lot of it's gimmick. It's a gimmick. Or they're trying to sell something,
Yeah.
Out there in biohazard suits setting traps because they don't want the scent on them. And it's just a dog, man,
And that's another thing I was going to touch base with you on is scent control. Everybody, you got a lot of people who worry about it. And I know I set everything by hand, no gloves, and I roll with it.
The only reason I wear gloves or knee pads is for comfort. And
you're getting old, dude.
And I'm trying to take care of my body. I'd like to be able to do this.
Yeah, I feel it. I say the same thing, and then I get to climb trees every day.
Oh yeah. So you got some physical labor going. You got to take care of your body. I'm sure you're physically fit. It's just I don't want to go down and hit a rock or something and break my patella or chip my patella or
be
something.
out for the whole year.
Yeah.
You know,
I will say this though, I do put in some time at the gym and I do cardio.
Yeah.
And nothing matches it for when you're out in those hills. I tell you what, I was walking out of the creek bottoms yesterday after we were hunting, and I thought I was going to die. So we were going to have to med flight me out of the woods because, I mean, that's another thing people don't understand. Another reason why people don't, I mean, necessarily care for trapping is you don't just walk into a tree stand and sit down for the day. I mean, I know him and I, we put a lot of miles on our boots. I mean, a lot of miles.
Thing. So, it kind of baffles me, and I don't mean to sound rude, but some of these guys, maybe they were fit when they were younger and trapping, and now they just got knowledge. But some of these guys that are out there saying that they're trapping and they look like they don't. They look like they probably sit on the couch and
I don't know how some of them do it, man. I really don't.
Yeah. And that's not to say I'm not poo-pooing anybody, but it's just like, man, I wouldn't want to take instruction from someone who doesn't look like they're, and I'm not I would listen to them, but I've never taken instruction. But if I was going to, it's not going to be from someone who doesn't look like
they can put in the work.
Yeah, that they're a worker. I want to know, like a Bob Went. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, but he kills them.
Nice.
All right. Well, we got about 3 minutes here.
You got anything else you want to say, man? What's your YouTube channel? What's all your social medias? Give that shout out.
It's just Coyote Academy. YouTube channel is just Coyote Academy. Facebook page, same thing. And then Instagram's the same. And then I was going to say, I try and put this out there, but I just go by the sweat method, SWET. I do the same thing. It's the same way every time. So sweat, same way every time. I go to a new property. I scout it the same way with my dog. It's the same thing. It's always, I try to be as efficient as I possibly can be. So when I go to put my set in, I set it the same way every time. I know all my moves are the same. It's just muscle memory at that point. I bait it the same way, lure it the same way, or put urine on it the same way. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because you don't have to do so many different little things, so many different little tasks. And
that's nice to see that you have that much success just doing the little things, just doing the basic things moving on. I'm not putting
it's really simple. I mean, what I do is really simple, but the work I put into it is totally different.
No, 100%.
Right. Yeah. And I know you guys understand that. It's just, to anyone that would be watching that wouldn't, I don't want to sound arrogant or I don't want to sound like I'm the best, but anyone could go out and catch 100 coyotes. I proved that this year because I've never taken instruction. I've only had a few mentors kind of lead me. The other things I've done is reading, doing my own research, my own, boots on the ground, scouting properties. That was all me. I didn't have, and you go to these schools and they can't teach you how to work. They can't teach you how to be a hard ass trapper. Like
can't put that work ethic in you and that heart. I mean, really, it's a lot of heart.
You might go there and spend a couple $1,000s and be hyped up, but you could have spent a couple $1,000s and bought some books and DVDs and put some gas in your truck and went to some properties.
Put your foot on the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's good if you want to start out and you want to take some instruction. I definitely would say that if I was going to take instruction, it would probably be from Brian Nelson and the silver tongue Matt Jones. So that's Silver Fox. He could sell you. He could probably sell you a piece of shit if he wanted to. So, but they do an actual working line.
Yeah.
So if I was going to go to one, it would probably be that, just because, I don't want to go sit in a classroom. And I've had people say, "Are you going to start a school up?" And I'm like, man, I don't have the credentials. I've done it for a few years. I've trapped I've trapped since I was 12, but I've only been after canine for a few years, so I don't want to start something up like that and not have the credentials to back it up. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here, man. It's been good talking to you. It's been nice talking to another guy from Ohio, knowing what we go through. So,
yeah, and I'll definitely keep up with you this year on your line, and I'll keep texting you and see how you're doing and send you some content, and I'll end up getting this bait out to you when I get these shirts in.
Heck yeah, man. That sounds awesome. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me. And if you guys ever want to do this again, just get a hold of me. I'd be more than happy to.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Guys. Thanks, buddy. Take it easy.
Take care.
All right, everybody. That was our second podcast here on the Avid Outdoorsman.
That was a good one, too.
That was Colton Morris. He's from Ohio. He's pretty much strictly a canine trapper. He reached 100 coyotes last year in actually 7 weeks, not a whole season.
That's crazy. And for you guys that don't know, if you're not from Ohio, we're not the West. I mean, coyotes, we have them, obviously, don't get me wrong, but they don't run like they do out West. And like Colton said, our farmers here own 200, 300 acres is a good amount of acres. You know, out West, you guys have those people that own tens and thousands of acres. So he's proven that, I mean, if you, like he said at the end there, if you put in the work, the results are going to come. You know, you put in the work, you put in the knowledge, and that's a lot of the work is learning it and being able to do it. Because 100 coyotes in Ohio, that's awesome. You know, it's awesome.
And I didn't keep up with the comments over here, but Fleshner Outdoors, you guys can go on YouTube here, check him out. Check him out on Facebook. Really good. He does a lot of podcasts also. He also has a store. You guys can order from him. Shout out to Colton Morris there at Coyote Academy. He does a really good job. He's got some pretty good videos. Most of his are not are running the line. You don't have a lot of your normal trap prep videos, but he does run the line a good bit on there. We will have some more content coming. I posted some stuff today of a beaver job we were working on. I'll get some better videos here coming. One more thing. Any of you trappers out there, you know it's almost that time. Boots are on the ground, and we're doing a lot of scouting. Stick with us. We're trying to get everything organized. There's a lot of things going on, but I appreciate everybody who got on here tonight.
We're the Avid Outdoorsman.
Yep, and we'll catch up with y'all.